Hello, curling fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Broom Brothers. The Olympic previews are over, and the Olympic reviews are in. We are spectacular. No, I'm just kidding. But the mixed doubles tournament has officially ended. We just watched Team Sweden, Team USA, Team Italy get their medals about 10 minutes ago. And now we are here to break down the mixed doubles tournament for you. John Cullen with you here as always, and pleased to be joined by my same doubles partner. Is that what you would call it? Same doubles? Men's
pairs.
Doubles? Men's
I prefer
doubles.
pairs.
Pairs. Okay.
Men's pairs.
I'm here with my pair, my men's pair.
That doesn't sound good.
Well, I mean, I've been watching Luge. I think you and I got a chance.
Yeah.
The two-person just stack us up on top of each other.
Oh yeah, we start now. We go to the Olympics.
Oh, we could go to the Olympics
easy,
for
man.
Sure, man. Anyway, that's Robbie Doherty right there. Robbie, I don't know if you saw my Twitter. The funniest. It was the funniest tweet I've ever seen. Some guy had tweeted about, the usual, I could make the Olympics in curling, I'm going to start tomorrow and I'm going to do it, whatever, and then someone replied to him, and it's honestly the funniest and most ignorant tweet about curling I've ever seen. He said, I hear stories all the time of some dudes and their drinking buddies picking up curling and medaling like the year after. And I was like, Where do you hear those stories? Because every curler in this event has been curling for like 2 or 3 decades. Like,
oh yeah, it's easy. It's easy, man.
It's so easy.
It's like broadcasting. It's easy. You just go on there and talk. Curling's easy. You just throw the rocks down the ice.
It's so easy. I mean, literally anybody could do it. I think the funny thing about all of that argument to me is I actually think curling is one of the harder sports to make it to the Olympics at, because it's all about reps. Like the amount of time you do it doesn't matter. Like even if you started training today and you're the best athlete on planet Earth, you have almost no chance of making it to the next Olympics, because it's literally just about throwing rocks and you don't have time to throw enough rocks. Then you would also have to learn the strategy on top of that. Like it's like Bing Yuang is like the best case scenario for that. And it took her 8 years to win the Worlds. Dude, so it just blows my mind, man. I like, it's so funny. And especially because there is evidence like speed skating, bobsled, luge, skeleton. There are sports you can start now and be in the next Olympics at.
Jared Allen kind of said that when he started curling, like it was, he wasn't aggressive with it or cocky or anything like that, but he made it clear that he wanted to try to go to the Olympics. I don't know how serious he really was, but he did come out and say that. And here we are, 10 years later after that, I guess, 10, 11.
Yeah, he's 8 years into curling, I believe.
Yeah. And you were in Tahoe, like, Jared, not going to the Olympics anytime soon, bud.
No. And the thing that I always find funny is like, if Jared was good enough, and this is no shade to Jared, he is actually very good at curling.
Yes,
for how long he's been playing, and he's a super nice man, and he's been so great to the sport. But it is funny also that like, and I wrote this in my book, but do you not think the US, like USA curling, would die to bring Jared as an alternate to the Olympics?
100%.
Like the media boon would be unbelievable. Like, if he could even just get good enough to be their alternate, they would bring him. But the reality is that he hasn't gotten good enough to be their alternate, and so they haven't. Yeah. And so it's just like, that's always the funny part of it to me, is it's, he has gotten very, very good, but yeah, I mean, unless you're like 15 years old and watching the Olympics and dreaming of being there for curling, you probably don't have a chance. Anyway.
And Jared Allen is an NFL Hall of Famer. Like, these guys tweeting are probably there with a bag of all dressed, in their basement, like on their third Coors Light.
I got 10 goals in 18 games in beer league this year, man. So like, I could for sure make the Olympics in curling, dude.
lost the semis last year, man. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty
like
good league.
we win that, we go to like the city championships. We win that, we go to the provincials, man. Like I'm on the second line on my beer league hockey team, dude. If I ran 100 meters, my heart would explode and I would die. But like other than that, I'm totally...
check out my trick shot Insta page. It's sick. 200 followers.
It's also funny, you're watching Corey Dropkin sweep. Like,
yeah.
Do you not watch that and go like, man, that guy looks like an animal out there? Like what?
Yeah. Or Rasmus.
Yeah, of course. Like it's just, it's very funny, but we are ostensibly recapping the mixed doubles and not dunking on idiots on Twitter. And I don't know if this is true for you just before we get to the mixed doubles. And I don't know if it's the Korey and Cory factor because they're American and they're obviously great curlers. But it feels like I know that every 4 years curling gets a bump. Obviously, people tune in, they're curious about it, whatever. But this to me, I don't know if you feel the same way. This Olympics, it feels like it's hotter than ever.
Agree. And my wife said that too, who's not a curler, never curled in her life, but she noticed that. And what I liked about, I kind of said to her today, it's a good thing when the US goes far in curling.
Yes.
Because it just brings so many more eyes on it, whether it be fans or corporate or what have you. It's just a great thing for the sport. But also it's kind of fun because it kind of seems like, and then, mind you, either of us are in the US physically right now, but it kind of seems like they're developing into those kind of classic Olympic characters. Like for us in Canada, it would be like,
John Montgomery was a great one, drinking the pitcher of beer through
Scott, totally. You know what I mean? Just names you remember, and the Coreys is so perfect. Like,
yes,
like even I found myself, not that I ever disliked either of them. In fact, I really love both of them, but I kind of find myself cheering for them sometimes just because of the way they are out there. It's kind of like, it's one thing if both of them are kind of razzing the crowd and all the time and energetic, but it's kind of like fun to see them just complement each other so well. Like Cory Thiesse, so focused. Cory Dropkin, the definition of taking in the moment. That's Cory Dropkin this week, and good on him. He's every right to.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the teams in the field. Robbie, I think you were going to kind of run us through the round robin standings. We're not going to have time to talk about every team here, but we are going to break down, obviously, the gold medal game and the bronze medal game. And then probably at the end of the show, we'll talk a little bit about Jocelyn Peterman and Brett Gallant. But for those of you who maybe didn't pay full attention to the mixed doubles event or what went on, Robbie, run us through the round robin standings, and then we'll talk about the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to start from the bottom. So we had Estonia at 2-7. We had Czechia at 3-6. Korea at 3-6, Norway at 4-5, Switzerland at 4-5, Canada at 4-5, Sweden at 5-4, USA at 6-3, Italy at 6-3, and Great Britain at 8-1. So that to me, just knowing where the playoff picture shaped up, that's mixed doubles, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Jen and Bruce looked like the class of the field for a lot of the event, and we'll get to them. But we saw the semifinals. It was Sweden versus Great Britain. The Wranås up against Mowat and Dodds. Isabella and Rasmus popping that 5-ball in the sixth end on the way to victory. The U.S. and Italy back and forth game. Stefania Constantini made a few draws to get them out of jail. Like Korey and Cory dominated them, but Stefania kept it close. But it was the USA that prevailed in the end. And then, of course, in the gold medal game, which just completed about half an hour ago, as we're recording this 45 minutes ago, Isabella and Rasmus Wranå are your newest mixed doubles champions, defeating the USA's Cory Thiesse and Cory Dropkin in the final. A couple fun little stats before we get into dissecting the game. Sweden now becomes the second nation to win a gold medal in all three disciplines at the Olympics. So obviously Canada has done it, and now Sweden has done it. And Rasmus becomes the 7th ever curler to win 2 Olympic golds, joining John Morris and Caitlin Laws of Canada. And then, of course, Annette Norberg's entire team won in 2006 and 2010. So her whole team has 2 gold medals. Morris and Laws, and now Wranå, and Rasmus will have the chance to become the first ever 3-time Olympic gold medalist this week as he plays in the men's competition with Team Nicholas Edin. And then, of course, the history on the U.S. side, Cory Thiesse becomes the first American woman to win an Olympic medal in curling. And they, of course, become the first U.S. team to win a medal in mixed doubles play. So that's kind of the history that was at stake here. Break down the gold medal game for me, Robbie. I know you watched it. You watched Sweden and the USA all week. What were your sort of takeaways from watching the big game?
Well, first of all, as a fan, it was a hell of a game. Like right
really
from the
good
start.
game.
Yeah, it was engaging and a little bit of everything. There was a lot of drama, not drama in a bad way, but just a lot of emotion, we'll say, and nerves and everything. But to me, it just came down to timing. Both teams had some chance to really put some pressure on the opposition, and whether it was the moment, the nerves, or whatever, they weren't able to execute. I think. Was it Rasmus who threw a draw through the house early on, or midway through the game, trying to come around a corner guard? I think it was on their power play. And then again, for the US, when they tried to set up their power play,
Cory went through. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I was just like, oh God, like, and it's getting late and it's a tight game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I know this is cliche, but to me, it's one of those games that could have went either way. I thought Cory Thiesse was like outstanding throughout this entire event. And she showed a lot of nerves, but I do think the nerves might have got to Team USA late in the game. Just a few uncharacteristic misses. Cory's last one, leaving that open, or not fully open, but pretty much open hit for the win for Isabella. You could just kind of see the moment catching up with them, but they have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. I thought they played outstanding. They're a great team. Well coached, fun to watch. And of course, with Sweden, I was laughing because as soon as Isabella let that last one go, like I was just watching kind of the center line, and I just said, "Oh, she's tight." And my wife just doesn't like really know what, a line call is like. And I'm not saying that to chirp her. She honestly just doesn't know curling. And she's like, "What does that mean?" And I was like, "Means she's inside." And I saw Rasmus. John, I'm surprised there was not water or snow just flying in the air. The amount of he was digging into that broom harder than I've ever seen anyone, and you could just see it, just tracking out. Yeah. And then you could hear, which I'm assuming was Swedish for clean, or but what a game! A great game. Could have went either way. I think if the U.S. could have converted with a hammer in the first end, might have been a different story. If they could have put 2 on the board, it might have just settled them in a little bit. But both teams, it's the shitty thing about sports. There's got to be a winner, and it was Sweden, and well deserved.
Yeah, I thought I agree. Like a really, really fun game to watch, and I think we say like, oh, it's in curling, the more misses there are, there's like a limit, right? It's like you don't want there to be too many misses, then the game sucks, but you don't want there to be 0 misses, because then if the teams are playing sort of defensively and there's not many misses, it can be kind of a boring game. In the 4-person game I'm talking about. With mixed doubles, misses are kind of baked into the format. Like you're playing really precise freezes and hits, and rock placement is so important that misses are kind of baked in. You heard Mike Harris on the broadcast say, like, if you're curling 80% in mixed doubles, like that's a very, very good game, which for 4-person right now, if you're in the 80s, that's below average. That's not very good. If you're 80 or 84 even. And so 2 things about that. Number one, I think you're right. I think the USA just didn't quite meet the moment in the gold medal game, and I do think that was a factor. And again, not to say they played poorly, because they didn't. They had a good game, but yes, there were opportunities to really take advantage of some big, some misses and some big chances with rock setup that they didn't really do. And I think you could also say Rasmus didn't necessarily meet the moment, but Isabella
did.
Was the story of this game. 97%. In the gold medal game. I mean, obviously gold medals last forever. You win a gold medal, they always say there's no pictures on the scoreboard, doesn't matter how you got there. In the 4-player game, you could be a lead and you throw 65% in the gold medal game, but the rest of your team plays great and you get a gold medal. Or the famous Tyrese Halliburton tweet when you get an A on the group project, but you didn't do anything, where he played literally literally 0 minutes in the 2024 Paris Olympics, but still got a gold medal. But that to me is obviously, like I say, the gold medals are forever. But I think really what I will remember about this game is how well Isabella played. And I think there's obviously a personal element to it. You and I know Bella really well, and she's just such a great person. But I also know just how hard this quad was for her, right? Like, her team has been behind Anna Hasselborg really the whole way, kind of knew probably halfway through this quad the Olympic dream was dead for their team, and it was going to be Hasselborg that was going to get selected. Then with mixed doubles, she wins the Worlds with Rasmus, but then Anna and Oscar are also there. Anna Hasselborg and Oscar Eriksson, they win the Swedish mixed doubles last year. They go to the Worlds. Bella's on pins and needles. Like, if Anna and Oscar do well, is the Swedish Federation going to give it to them instead of me? Just there's just a lot that goes into it that I think people don't see as far as that. When there's selections, it's almost tougher because you can't play your way into this, and so, yeah, and they started the week badly. They were down. They had a losing record early, just scraped into the playoffs with a 5-4 record, but they beat all the top teams towards the end of the event, and then obviously peaked in the playoffs. They were also fantastic in the semifinal game. And so that, I think, is what's really going to stick out for me with the Swedish team, is just, Bella, the disappointment of fours and all of that, coming into this game knowing, like, Anna Hasselborg might play another quad. I might not ever get back here again. And you play 97% in the gold medal game and you win. I mean, that's special.
Oh, 100%. And the other thing too is, 97% is one thing if you're, lobbing one into the 12-foot for your extra point or something, but her shots were like very tough. And a couple key ones, it's not hard to go from 97% to 91% really fast. And she just rose to the occasion. Like, I think there was that draw similar to the one Constantini made earlier in the week.
Yeah,
that side of the 2
points. Yeah, the 2-point draw.
And then, especially against the USA, I think it was the 7th when they used their power play, and Cory Dropkin, I think with his last one, made a really nice kind of hit and roll over to the side of the 12-foot to stay in the rings. He got the crowd going, and that's kind of when it's kind of like an 80s wrestling match with the USA. When you see them kind of firing up, that's when you got to bring them down. And Isabella, she just maintained her composure so well. Her face didn't change, went down to the hack, made the double, and went to the last end. And was it a makeable double? Of course it was. But given the circumstances, the difference is if you stuff it or if you miss the back one, you're down two. Down two instead of down one with the hammer. That's a big, big difference.
Huge shot.
So yeah, just so low key. I don't want to say under the radar because she deserves to be the highlight reel, but just so calm, cool, collected. And you're right, John. Like, it's, if someone was to say to me that there was another player in the field that truly deserved it more than Isabella Wranå, I think I'd disagree. I'd have a hard time thinking of anybody just based on the story, what you talked about, and not just that, but the amount of time that her 4-person team puts into the game. And I have to use that as an example because, I never see mixed doubles working for the Grand Slams. It's always the 4-person team we see. And that team works so hard. If they are on the outside looking in and someone doesn't come or they decline the invite, they're there. Like, they're there in a heartbeat. Like, they want it so bad. They love the game. They work so hard at it. They've improved so much over this quadrennial. So for Isabella, not just as a person, but as an athlete, so well deserved.
Yeah, we love it. We love to see it. Over on the other side of the sheet, Corey and Cory, first mixed doubles medal for the USA, first medal for Corey and Cory. And as we said, Cory Thiesse, the first American woman to win a curling medal. And, I think we could say a lot of the same things about the USA. So I wanted to focus a little bit more on some of the discourse that we saw this week online. You and I both know Cory quite well, pretty intense fella. And
but a good intense.
Very good. But I think you saw you saw sort of like this was like the ultimate version of Cory or whatever. This was Cory at WrestleMania. He was pulling out all the stops. He had the special entrance. This is a metaphor. He did not do this, but I'm just like, it's like the wrestlers, you got to work. There's a difference between, working a house show in the middle of nowhere in a Midwest state and the Olympics. And yeah, Cory just stepped his game up here, but there was a lot of cheering, a lot of loud exclamations, some bicep flexing, some big celebrations. And there were definitely some people online who had an issue with that, of course. As you might imagine, curling fans, a lot of the certain set of curling fans like the decorum of the game and the way that curling is. But I figure I'll let you weigh in, Robbie. What is, what's your takeaway on all of that with regards to Cory Dropkin?
I think Cory Dropkin's the man. And if that's how if that's what Cory needs to do when Cory's at the friggin' Olympics, while these people bashing him are home on an iPad watching him at the Olympics, he can do whatever the hell he wants because he earned his way to be there. And whatever he needs to do to be at his best, that's what he's going to do. Cory Dropkin, anyone who's met Cory Dropkin knows that Cory is a 10 out of 10 beauty of a human. He treats everybody with respect. He always has time for people. He's just one of the good ones. And I will always, always say that. I knew Cory since he was like 12 or 13. He used to come to the Maritimes in the summer and do a curling camp here. So I coached him when he was like prepubescent.
So you're taking credit for this.
That's my official announcement. And I'm pretty much a silver medalist.
You're welcome, Cory.
No, but I just think here's what I'll say about Cory Dropkin. Find me any other athlete in the field who was truly taken in the entire moment more than Cory this week. No one. I can't think of any. And so what? It involves getting the crowd going. I mean, if I had biceps like that, or biceps at all, I'd probably flex too.
Or biceps at all. Important qualifier there.
That's frowned upon on Tuesday Night League. But no, but I don't see a problem with it. I enjoyed it. If you take another player, like say Rasmus, who's a very quiet person, is someone going to look at him and say, you're being too quiet, lighten up a little bit. Like you look like you're ignoring the other team. Like just shut up and watch the game and let them be themselves.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that for me, and I kind of got into it a little bit on Twitter with some people, not in a bad way, but just, I think that, it's good for the game. And I also think a lot of this, like we were talking about at the start of the show, a lot of the, anybody could do this and I could do this and I could be at the next Olympics and blah, blah, blah. When you see stuff like Cory, that is how a lot of athletes act, and curlers are athletes. And I know that in the past, maybe some curlers weren't tremendous athletes. They were great curlers, but they weren't necessarily in the gym. They weren't necessarily ripped. They weren't necessarily really had great cardio, but they were great curlers. And at the time, that's all the sport demanded.
Yeah.
If you could just be a great shooter, you could have a beer belly and you could look however you looked. But if you were a great shooter, you could win championships. And now you can't do that. And you especially can't do that in mixed doubles. The demands on the body in mixed doubles, particularly for the men who sweep their own rocks, and that's not all of them, but for Cory, that is what he does, right? He throws the stone, he immediately gets up out of his lunge, and then he sweeps the shit out of the rock. And then he's got to go throw another one after that, and then another one after that. And I think that the way he acted, to me, was much more in line with how athletes in other sports act. And we have no problem with hockey players celebrating a goal or baseball players celebrating a home run or whatever. So this is just like part of the evolution of curling as a sport. Is it really is an athletic pursuit now, and these people are treating the sport like athletes. And so for me, I loved it. I think it's great for the game. I think the game needs more characters. I think Cory is a character. You're telling me that Americans weren't seeing him all week and going, I love this guy. And I love this girl too. I mean, people loved Cory Thiesse's calm demeanor, as a sort of juxtaposition to boy Cory, as I learned, they call them boy and girl Cory. Boy Cory's a kind of, boisterous nature. I think they're a great foil for each other. I think it's really good for the sport. And I think the thing, and you brought this up, that also has to be noted is Cory does all of the sort of classy things that these older curling fans want curlers to do. Like if you go back and watch those games, even the gold medal game, like when Bella made that hard draw for 2, Cory put his hand up like, hey, great shot. He's never, ever disrespecting an opponent. He doesn't cheer when they miss. He doesn't get in their face. He doesn't try to distract them. He's very complimentary. He gave a post game on NBC, just lost the biggest curling game of his life. And he said, Rasmus and Isabella are great curlers. They deserve this. They played amazing. I mean, so that's the thing for me is like, so he cheers, but he does all the other things you want someone to do, but because he cheers sometimes or he feeds off the crowd, he's less than. That's the thing I had a huge problem with. And I think it's great for the sport. I think Corey and Cory are great for the sport. I'm thrilled for them that they made it to the gold medal game. They put up a valiant effort. And it was just an awesome gold medal game. And I'm really happy for both of them.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And you nailed it. And the other thing is, even after Isabella made her last rock in 8, like to win it, Cory was standing there with his arms open to give her a hug. And like, that's, so I echo everything you said. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I mean, and they're just an ezy team to cheer for as a fan. Like I'm not used to being a fan, but like, if
I'm not a fan of the USA, I'll tell you that for free.
No, I don't think many are right now, but but I mean, I'm just, when I'm looking through Gem, and like, even when Canada wasn't playing, if the USA were on, that was probably the game I was going to pick, just because, well, I knew Cory since he was, a preteen, but still, he's just a good guy, and he doesn't deserve to hear all that nonsense online. Yeah,
I agree. So really well. And to your point as well, you could hear Cory. He was caught on mic, at least on the Canadian broadcast, after Cory's last rock came to rest. As you said, kind of put his arm out, like, get in here, because they kind of knew that, Bella, that's a shot Bella makes 9 times out of 10, her last one. And he said, whatever happens on this shot, I'm proud of the way we battled.
Yep. And they should be.
And they should be. And what more do you want after that? So we're now going to break down the bronze medal game. Probably will be a little bit of a shorter conversation. Before we do, a reminder, this episode is brought to you by Goldline Curling, the official supplier of Team Homan here at these Olympics, and the official supplier of Robbie and mine's beautiful, beautiful sweatshirts here. All your Team Canada Olympic apparel is still available. Goldlinecurling.com. They've got all your equipment, all your Olympic apparel. And you're going to see Team Homan kick things off here very shortly. And they've been a Goldline team for almost 2 decades now. And they're outfitted top to bottom in Goldline. So you watch them, you want to curl like the pros, head on over to goldlinecurling.com and grab your gear. All right, bronze medal game. Featured a team that I think I picked them to win gold. I believe you had them winning silver. Bruce Mowat, Jen Dodds from Great Britain, as you said early, start the round robin 8-1, and then end the event with 2 straight losses, 8-3, and out of the medals, and a hometown, literally a hometown for Stefania, but a home country bronze medal for Amos Mozaner and Stefania Constantini. Your thoughts, Robbie, on the bronze medal game?
I thought the game itself was kind of flat.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel like, and I know it's not for the gold, but still you're playing for an Olympic bronze medal. And it kind of felt like starting out that there were kind of 2 deflated teams doing battle. And even with Italy on the ice in their home country, I kind of just expected more of a ruckus crowd. And now keep in mind, I have a 3-year-old and a 7-month-old who are both battling terrible flus. So I literally had a 7-month-old crying on me and this 3-year-old cuddled on the other arm in the rocking chair trying to move. So that might have played into it, but I don't know. it was kind of a textbook game, and that's not meant to be, shitting on them. It's just to the sense where the gold medal game that we just talked about seemed like it had a lot more big moments, a lot more chances. It just kind of seemed like Italy, just kind of got the lead and just sort of went with it, if that makes sense. Amos Wranå is like custom built for mixed doubles curling, in my opinion. Like, and I think I saw a tweet one time and they were saying that, you got a guy who's 6'6" and curling is the sport that he picks.
Like, exactly.
But I'm like, I guess I guess that makes sense, but
size does matter in curling.
Size does, absolutely.
Yeah. The height improves your angle on the broom and gives you more power. It definitely matters for sure.
And he was throwing was it sub 6 second peels or sub 5 or 6? I think it was sub 6. I think he came in at like a 5.4 or something, but just throwing bullets.
Yeah.
But I knew that was going to be a good game. I thought it would be a little bit more kind of emotional, I guess, or more entertaining. It kind of looked like, because that was actually the comment I made when I read off the standings at the start of the episode, was Dodds and Mowat on top of the leaderboard that I read, and it was them doing battle, like Italy and Great Britain, for the bronze. So I think it could technically be classified as two upsets in the semifinals, where both teams probably thought that was going to be for gold, and it's pretty hard to bounce back that soon after. But I thought Constantini played outstanding this week. Her draw weight was just...
Oh my God. I mean, also talk about a player made for mixed doubles, because the Italian program, their 4-person team on the women's side just kind of hasn't caught up. We've talked about that in our preview. Both of us had them missing the playoffs. They haven't really been great this quad, but Stefania herself is excellent. Like, if you ask top women's curlers, like, who the top 5 shooters are in the women's game, Stefania's name would come up in that conversation. It's just, she just doesn't have the team at this moment to kind of back her up. But in mixed doubles, when you got Amos and, you have all the experienced world champions, Olympic gold medalists. Yeah, she is, what a player.
Yeah, what a player. And you said it, but same as Amos. Like, he was outstanding as well. And I think he had one kind of buffoon today. But there was one where he was trying just a straight peel on a corner guard. I think it was Great Britain's power play. And I don't even know if he made contact with the rock, but it was like, he obviously did. But it was just going like so fast that I think the wind just like blew the guard to the sideboards. Like, it obviously grazed it, but like anyone else throwing that shot, it's not made. But I mean, it also helps when you can pretty much reach down the ice and set the rock where you want to.
True, that is helpful. Yeah, I would say my thought on the bronze medal game, and we'll keep it quick because I know we want to talk about Canada and we got lots of Canadian listeners, but I would just say, sort of to echo your point, maybe add on to it a little bit. It just felt like Italy was more equipped to win that bronze medal game. And I get that, Bruce and Jen had such a good week. And when you're 8-1 and you go into this sudden death semifinal situation and you're getting to play Sweden, who were 5-4, you could, and we're not one of the favorites coming in necessarily. I think that's tough. And so I think, you lose that semifinal after you're 8-1. So even losing that semifinal, you still have the best record in the field, right? Like, the USA moved to 7-3, winning the semifinal. Sweden moves to 6-4. You're still 8-2. And now you're playing in a game where you could lose. They also had the ghosts of the previous bronze medal game. They lost the bronze medal game in 2022 as well. And so, yeah, it just felt to me like losing the semifinal was slightly more deflating for them. Yes. And it felt like Italy was just, mentally a little more equipped and a little more ready to be playing in that bronze medal game. I also think that that's where the home crowd does also kind of help a bit, right? Because you're thinking to yourself, okay, we were one of Italy's medal hopes. People have been talking about us for a while. So like, I'm sure they're getting written about. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm sure they're getting written about in the news and whatever as like, this is one of Italy, our country's like gold medal hopes or whatever. Right. And so I think for for them, they probably thought, okay, we've let the country down a little bit, but we don't want to let them down all the way, you know?
Yep.
And so to me, I think that helps, right? You come into this packed venue in Cortina, you want to give the fans something to cheer about, pardon me. And unfortunately for Great Britain, they had to face off against a team that was just maybe mentally a little more ready. Plus they already have the gold. And I think that does play a factor a little bit. You go, well, we won gold last time. It was maybe unreasonable to think we'd win gold this time too, but we could still win a medal. So let's go do it. And so, yeah, I thought you're right. Italy was just a little bit more equipped to play that game. And just really happy for them. Happy to hear all the cheers in the venue this morning when they got their bronze medals. And very well deserved.
And the other thing too is when that game did conclude, you really saw the emotion come out, especially on Amos. You could tell that bronze medal meant a lot to him, and rightfully so. I think it was Kevin Martin said it best one time in an interview. You'd walk through the desert for an Olympic bronze, but you probably wouldn't take any other ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like an Olympic bronze is a lot different than
a world bronze or prior bronze. Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. Okay. It's time to talk about Canada. So Robbie, you had them winning gold. I had them winning bronze before the event. They were the number 3 team in the world coming into this event, at least by double takeout rankings. And as we've said before, the mixed doubles rankings are quite volatile. So, to quote the sort of official mixed doubles rankings is a little bit off because a lot of the top teams don't play that much. Yep. So you do kind of have to factor in past results and all that kind of stuff. But you can definitely say not the best week for them. They start 3-0, then they lose 5 in a row. And then they win their final game against Switzerland when it doesn't matter anymore to finish at 4-5, 1 spot out of the playoffs. This is, I think, for both of us, hard because we are Canadian. We are friends with Joss and Brett. They did Canada proud, but this is curling and it is Canada. And so there's always disappointment when Canada is not in the playoffs and not on the podium. I'll send it over to you first. Robbie, your thoughts on the week for Brett Gallant and Jocelyn Peterman.
Tough week. Those are the 2 words I'd sum it up to. 3-0, and then you lose your next 5. It's heartbreaking for them. It just seemed like once that kind of momentum sort of stopped, and I noticed it maybe a little more in Gallant than Peterman, but it just seemed like they were trying so hard to put it back together and just couldn't find the right groove. And there were moments of brilliance, like Jocelyn, even in some of their losses, made a few absolutely brilliant draws, or, if they don't have the hammer, like a freeze with her last to take away a big end sort of thing. But it just felt like they were not in sync, the last half of the week. I didn't see their final game against Switzerland, so I'm not talking about that one. But there were a couple times where, one would be calling, sweep for line, and perhaps the sweeper wasn't touching it or something like that. And it just, I don't want to say they lost their mojo or they lost their they just got out of their groove, if that makes sense. And that resulted in just some unusual lack of execution that we don't see. I feel bad for them because, it's so funny. We call curling Canada's sport as a Canadian curling fan. Like, yes, we're both curling employees and we work in curling, but we're still curling fans.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, it's kind of like the Maple Leafs fans, and I'm a Leafs fan too. Sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Me. Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah. I'm from Toronto, man.
It's kind of like Canadian curling fans. Not all, I'm just saying, but there's a lot of Canadian curling fans who, sort of pride themselves on being the most educated and passionate curling fans in the world. But in some ways it's like quite the opposite, where like, I know they've been hearing for so long that the world is getting better and the world is catching up. Like that discussion should have been over 10 years ago. Yeah. Like the world has caught up, and especially in mixed doubles where the world in a lot of cases is a lot more experienced than we do. They've passed, the days of Canada or any 4-person team or mixed doubles team getting a red jacket with a leaf on it doesn't mean you're the heavy favorite. It just doesn't. I wish it does. I wish it did. And
it used to.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. It really did. And like our players were just so much better back in the day, or our teams, I should say. And they're just not anymore. So I feel like my heart goes out to Brett and Jocelyn, because I went to high school with Brett. So like, I think when people say they know how hard he works, yeah, sure they do now. But I saw how hard he worked in 2005, like, I'm not trying to sound like an old man here, but like walk into the curling club in snowstorms after school. Like he'd be there every single day. He'd be there every day on the weekend. Curling was this guy's life. He's wearing the maple leaf. He's trying his goddamn best with his wife, who I think represented Canada with so much class and dignity, left it all out there, didn't go their way. And I know I sound like I'm making excuses, but my heart just broke for them in not so much on the ice. Sports is sports. There's winners and losers. That's the part of it. But having to deal with some of the backlash that they've had to face, I just think it's really unfair and uncalled for.
Yeah, and we talked about it before the event. Like if you listen to our mixed doubles preview, we said there are 6 teams that could reasonably compete for a gold medal, and you could honestly even stretch it to 8. And you want to talk about like a team that struggled. Estonia finished last, and that's a former world number 1.
Yep.
Like that is a team that has been very, very good on and they only play mixed doubles. Mm-hmm. And so I think that to me shows that like, this is how the field is. There was 6, whatever your mileage may vary. If you don't agree with 8, it's at minimum 6 that had a chance to win gold. And quite frankly, no expert was putting Sweden in the playoffs except for me. But everyone was like, Sweden's kind of on the outside looking in. And so it's 6 at minimum. It's probably 8. So guess what? If you have 8 teams who could win the gold medal and only 4 teams can make the playoffs, 4 teams that you think could make the playoffs are going to miss. And so, I think there was definitely a couple factors at play. The ice changed. That was a big struggle. It seemed like Brett could never really get a handle on the ice once it changed. Earlier in the week, the ice was curling quite a bit, but it was quite slow. The commentators were talking about 13 seconds hog to hog for draws, which is, the slams.
That's very slow.
Yeah, the slams, it's usually 14 and a half or 15, but the rocks were curling. So it was heavy on draws, but it was curling. And then to kind of mitigate that, the ice makers had to kind of straighten the ice out. So then you got quicker draw speeds, but then the ice was straighter. And it seemed like Brett, more than Jocelyn, had a hard time adjusting his release and delivery, because when the ice is straighter, you do have to throw less rotation. You do have to throw with less pop. And Brett just seemed like he couldn't make that adjustment. And as you said, once the kind of snowball started rolling down the hill, losing momentum, losing to teams maybe you'd think they shouldn't lose to or wouldn't have lost to, was a problem. And I think, and this is going to sound like an excuse because I am a Canadian, but I watched every single one of their games. I watched a bunch of other games, and no one can deny the world has caught up to Canada in curling, and in some cases past us. That is absolutely undeniable. However, the remnant of Canada being the world power in curling is everybody wants to fucking beat us. Everybody wants to beat us so bad. We are the New York Yankees. We're the Los Angeles Dodgers. We are the Dallas Cowboys, the New England Patriots, whatever you want to say, the Toronto Maple Leafs. People want to beat Canada. And I watched all of their games, and it seemed like every team except for Norway, no apologies to Kristen and Magnus, but they stunk against Canada. But every other team, it seemed like, just brought their absolute best game against Canada. And that's like I said, that's going to sound like an excuse. And it is, because if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. So it is, at the end of the day, an excuse. But it was notable to me, at least. Like Estonia goes 2-7, but one of their wins is against Canada, and they were unreal against Canada. Korea goes 3-6. They were insane against Canada. I think they had a 90% shooting percentage in that game, but they're 3-6 on the week. So So that's part of what this is for Canada, is it's not just that, the expectations of your own country are high and the pressure is high, but all the other countries want to beat your ass. And that's tough.
Yeah. The Canadians see that logo on the jacket as a maple leaf, where the rest of the world sees it as a bullseye or a target. It's absolutely, I'm not disagreeing in the least with that. And that does add a lot of pressure, and it unfortunately comes with a lot of expectations. And unfortunately, as I said earlier, the games are played on the ice, and that's sports. There's a winner and a loser. And, I hope that Brett and Jocelyn don't buy into that BS too much. And I hope they don't look back on that with any, feelings of any kind of, I hate to use the word failure or anything like that, but because they should be proud. It's as you said, like I'm saying everything you said is true. And I agree 100%. And with that comes extra pressure that they had to deal with. And it didn't go their way this week. But you know what? You were Team Canada at the Olympics. You left it all out there. You came home 4-5, 1 win away from being in the playoff mix. If you beat Sweden, different story. And but hey, there'll be another Olympics.
That's true. They do happen every 4 years, as is my understanding. I do think, though, and I obviously, I think we've done a good job here of defending Brett and Jocelyn. They were no question our best rep. They're the highest ranked Canadian team in the world. They went undefeated at the Canadian mixed doubles trials. So I agree completely. You see that criticism online. It's completely unwarranted. And in most cases, it's from casuals. Let's just say it how it is. You don't watch curling. You don't cover curling like you and I do. You don't know what you're talking about. That said, there is room for criticism. And I have a couple things I want to get out there. And I'll start with this one first. And I'm curious on your thoughts, Robbie. But there's been a lot of talk. Canada's had a lack of success in the 4-person game for the last 2 Olympics. That's no surprise. We have 1 bronze out of 4 events. And one of the things that gets talked about a lot is our trials are too close to the Olympics for 4-person, right? They happen in November, early December. 2 months later, you're on the ice at the Olympics. There's been a lot of criticism about that. And Canada hasn't really changed it much. They've moved it back a little bit in the calendar, but very marginal. It used to be mid-December. Now it's beginning of December kind of thing. Yep. But for mixed doubles, because they knew that the mixed doubles team would need to have a good performance at the World Championships to secure our Olympic berth, we held the mixed doubles trials a year before the Olympics. So Jocelyn and Brett went to the Worlds. They did well enough to make it so they didn't have to go through the OQE, which was great. But this fall, Jocelyn and Brett played 2 events. That's it. One of the events they played had 8 teams in it. The other event they played in had 16 teams in it. Like, they just chose events that were close to home, that were convenient. And look, the 8-team event they played in, there was good teams there. Like Walker and Myers were in it. Lot and Lot were in it. Kaldvay and Lille from Estonia were in it. But I would say, if you're putting, I thought in my mind, my read of the situation was, we're putting the mixed doubles trials a year before the Olympics because most of our best mixed doubles players play 4s curling. And this will give them the opportunity to play a busier schedule and be ready for the Olympics. And I just don't understand why they didn't play more. I really don't get it. And look, there were teams in this field that didn't play much. So Jocelyn and Brett played 13 total games. Wranå and Wranå played 10. Amos and Stefania played 0. So I'm not saying that this isn't a reasonable path to winning the medal. Bruce and Jen played 19. Korey and Cory played 33. I'm not saying it's not an unreasonable path. It's proven that you can play a small amount if you're a good 4-person player and go to the Olympics. But I would ask the question, why are the trials a year before the Olympics if Jocelyn and Brett are only going to play twice in the ensuing 365 days? I mean, they played the World Championships and the Canadian Championships last March, but you're playing 2 small mixed doubles events in the fall leading up to the Olympics. Why put the trials a year in advance?
No, it's a great question. And you make a lot of good points. And I think the whole question becomes, what's the timing of everything? Because let's say Brett and Jocelyn won the trials last year, and then they showed up this season, and the trials were, and this is hypothetical, let's say they were mid-October. And let's say neither of them won the 4-person trials. Now, that's not true because Brett's team did win the trials, but let's just say they both didn't. Well, then, it's probably time for them to pull a Corey Dropkin, say thanks to your 4-person team, and get ready for the Olympics, and rightfully so. You don't see many full-time mixed doubles teams in Canada. You've obviously got Walker Myers, who are probably the most famous who do that. But when you compare the number of high-level players we have in Canada towards other smaller countries, I think the ratio doesn't quite work out the same. Like where you have a country like Estonia, and they have a team that was number 1 in the world, and they only play mixed doubles. You just don't hear that very much. Is it time that Canadians, start to maybe have to make a choice? Maybe not at the start of the quadrennial, but let's say, there's a team like take Caitlin Lawes' team, even, for example. And I hate to single them out, but a team that was put together to win the trials, 2 years into it, you just perhaps haven't seen the results you wanted. You haven't had that kind of big turning point. Things perhaps just aren't going the way you thought they might, because there's a lot of talent on all these rosters. Is there a time where you say, you know what, maybe I'm just going to commit to mixed doubles? And I know that's a huge decision to make, but I'd like to hear your feedback on that. Is it time that, and it's easy to say this right now, an hour after the mixed doubles game.
Yeah.
Because, you saw the gold medal. It's an Olympic sport. But then, 3 or 4 months, we just have our way of curling in Canada, and it's the 4-person team and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But is it time to start, I always just kind of chuckle at the word specialist, but is it almost time to make declarations on who's a specialist and who's not?
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because there's evidence both ways, right? Like, as I said, we've got, Wranå and Wranå played less than them and won the gold medal. Amos and Stefania literally played 0 games and won bronze. So and if you look at the specialists in the field, they were all bad, right? So Caldway and Lil have played 63 games this season, and they went 2-7. Kim and Jeong. So Kim plays obviously on Team Kim, but they knew in June they weren't going to be the 4-person team, right? Like the Korean Olympic trials were in June. She knew she wasn't going to be the 4-person representative. Jeong wasn't either. So they played 59 games, but they also went 3-6. Then you look at Skazlian and Nedregotten. They played 49 games, but they also go 3-6. So there's arguments on both sides. I think it's lazy to say, well, we have to specialize. I think that's just an easy thing to say. And look, maybe it will change. Maybe the next 4 years, we've talked about it. I think there's a very good chance Corey and Cory spend the next quad only playing mixed doubles. I think that's very much on the table for them, especially after this result. So will there be other nations that have more specialists and force us to do that? I do think that is possible. I think it's lazy to say that that's the solution, because mixed doubles is a volatile game. Anything could happen. We could say to Joss and Brett, you're banned from playing the 4-player game next quad. You're only playing mixed doubles. They could make it to the Olympics and they could miss the playoffs again. That could also happen. So I think the specialist argument is a bit of a lazy one. However, could they have played more? Probably. And again, it's not even so much the playing more that if they played one more tournament, were they going to win gold instead of come 5th? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just asking the question, if the trials are a year in advance, why are they only playing 2 events? To me, you put the trials a year in advance so that you can focus on mixed doubles. And like you said, maybe the solution is the whole calendar's got to change. Like for Sun Young Kim, she knows in June she's not going to the Olympics for 4s. Okay, great. Now I'm going to spend July to February only focusing on mixed doubles. Maybe that's a solution. I don't know. That was one thing that stuck out to me where I went, it's a little curious. It's a little curious for me. And again, they play 13 games this year. They go 12-1. They started the Olympics 3-0. They're certainly not a bad team.
No.
Obviously.
And one more point I want to make too is I think a lot of it does depend on the team. as well. Like, you know, if Robbie Doherty plays mixed doubles with Michelle McQuaid, like we did last year in the PEI provincials, but pretend we're like an elite team, you know, we have to play a lot. Like I you know, I've known Michelle, but I don't know her that well. You got to develop that chemistry, you know, sort of thing. Brett and Jocelyn, like they have a son together. They're married. Like,
yeah,
I think their chemistry is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of questions that will have to be addressed, and the best way to, and not even just mixed doubles, but the whole kind of trials process. Now we still have men's and women's to go in the 4-person, so it could be a double gold and all's hunky dory, hee-haw, keep going. But who knows? Who knows what could happen? But I think it's going to be interesting and good time to have a podcast.
Oh, totally. I mean, yeah, the team changes are going to come fast and furious. And yeah, again, just want to say a good point. You know, they are a family. They have kids. They have other responsibilities. They have responsibilities to their 4-person team. Like I'm not trying to ascribe blame. I'm not sitting here going like, screw you, Jocelyn and Brett and Curling Canada. Why did you do this? I'm just asking the question, if we're going to put the trials in the same spot next time, do we consider playing more or forcing the mixed doubles winners to be a little bit more specialized, even for that year leading up to the Olympics? Because, yeah, I think right now, mixed doubles is in a place where the players who are very good, who are not specialists, can still have success. But if a lot of other countries start to take their best, because the thing is, a lot of these specialists, it's either because they play in a country where where curling is not a thing, right? So, oh, nice little thumbs up reaction there. Where they play in a country where curling is not a thing, like Estonia, right? Like Kaldve and Lille. Like, yes, Estonia has been at the Women's Worlds a couple times, but like realistically, they specialize because they're the only 2 good curlers in their country, or they're the only 2 world-class curlers in their country. Yep. Or they specialize because they're not good enough at 4s, or they haven't found their way onto a 4-person team. Like a good example is Sweden with Westman and Alberg, right? Like they play a ton. They're all over the mixed doubles tour, but they don't even get considered to be selected by Swedish curling because, yeah, they have Isabella and Rasmus and Anna and Oscar, and like they have other top teams that they can pick from. And that's also because, yeah, like I say, Westman and Alberg, and same thing with Skaslien and Edgergotten, like probably just not quite good enough to be on the best 4-player teams in their country. Now, if you start to take players who are good enough to be the best 4-person players in their country and you make them specialized in mixed doubles, that's where you might start to have a problem. That's where you might start to see, holy shit, if we don't have specialists, we're going to get crushed. And Korey and Cory might be the team that leads the charge on that. Obviously, we're going to see Cory in the women's event. Cory Dropkin won the U.S. Nationals last year in 4s. So that, I think, is going to be the interesting thing to track over this next quad is, do we start to see some strong curling nations' best players also specialize in mixed doubles? And then that's where it will force conversations, I think, from Canada, from Italy, from Sweden, from Switzerland. Are we pulling a couple of our best players out of 4-person curling and making them specialize? And that'll be interesting to see whether it happens or not. But
and another one last comment that I just wanted to make, and maybe you know this, but I like truly innocently have no idea. But I'd like to see what the funding breakdown looks like for your mixed doubles Olympic reps versus their 4-person Olympic reps, because you know that can make a big difference as well.
100%. It's something that Canada and other nations might have to look at as well, for sure.
Yep.
Well, there you have it. Anything else? Any last words on the mixed doubles tournament at the Olympics, Robbie?
No, it was a blast to watch. I love watching mixed doubles. Every time I watch it, I'm like, shit, I should watch more of this. But I just, you know, it's not, you don't have the opportunity like you do 4-person. But it was very entertaining. Everything you want in an Olympics, you know, some upsets, especially in the semifinals. Just that's my opinion. And a very, very, very entertaining championship final between 2 teams who are very different, carry themselves different, but both wanted it really bad. In the end, it was Sweden taking the win, but congratulations to them. And of course, Congratulations to the U.S. on the silver, Italy for the bronze, and a hell of a job by everybody representing their country. Could be worse. Could be hosting a curling podcast instead of at the Olympics.
Ain't that the truth, brother? Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be back, I believe, early next week with sort of a recap of the first weekend of fours play. So as we are recording this, 4-person curling gets underway tomorrow, Wednesday, February 11th. So we will have something either like Monday or Tuesday next week, sort of recapping that first weekend. And then we will probably take a week off and we will just do an overall 4-person recap of the event. Unless something crazy happens, you can never rule out an emergency podcast during the Olympics. So that's kind of the schedule for the next little bit. You have something else, Robbie?
I just wanted to add that I have my club championship playdowns this week too. So if anyone's following along the elite curling world,
we'll get a recap on that from you as well early next week. Well, it'll be breaking down the first weekend of the Olympics and the PEI Club Championships.
No. Just our Cornwall Club Championships.
Oh, sorry. Just the Cornwall Club Championships.
Yeah, there's pizza between games. So
we'll have updates on both of those for you next week. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, this episode brought to you by Goldline Curling. Check out goldlinecurling.com for all of your equipment and curling supplies needs. If you want to see a video of this episode, it's on our YouTube, which is at Broom Brothers. If you want to find us on any social media, it's just at the Broom Brothers. Thanks as always. I think off the top of the show, I forgot to say this is also, of course, presented by the Curling Group, the official podcast of the Grand Slam of Curling. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us, and we will see you back here very, very soon. Hope you're enjoying the Olympics curling. We are, and looking forward to the fours coming up. We'll see you back here soon. I think I already said that, but I love you and I appreciate you, and goodbye, everybody.
Tally ho.